He's from your home state of Louisiana, the Speaker of the House. I read today he wrote a foreword in a book that subscribes to conspiracy theories and homophobic insults. I thought, Mike Johnson wrote the foreword to the Bible? Do you think Mike Johnson can hold his party together now that he has taken the mantle?
Well, first of all, I don't think he can hold his party together. Second of all, you're exactly right. Mike Johnson and what he believes is one of the greatest threats we have today to the United States. When I promise you, I know these people.
You're talking about Christian nationalism.
Absolutely. This is a bigger threat than Al-Qaeda.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today, we're going to dive into a political firestorm that occurred on Real Time with Bill Maher. Hold on tight, because in the constantly changing political landscape of America, few people have caused as much controversy as House Speaker Mike Johnson. Although his ascent to power may have seemed unlikely to some Democratic strategists, James Carville views it as anything but harmless. In a heated exchange with Maher, Carville wasn't holding back when he called Johnson's form of Christian nationalism a serious threat to the U.S., one that, in his opinion, outweighs even the threats posed by organizations like Al-Qaeda. But what exactly makes Johnson so concerning? Carville contends that his strongly held ideological convictions transcend simple conservatism and go against the fundamental tenets of democracy, citing a well-funded and unrelenting movement in the Supreme Court that is progressively tilting in his favor. As America struggles with changing political tides, Carville cautions that it is not a fleeting trend but rather a fight for the nation's soul. The question yet stands: is Christian nationalism an existential threat, or is Carville's warning merely another partisan alarm?
Up to this country. And let me tell you something. They're Speaker of the House. They got probably at least 2 Supreme Court justices, maybe more. Right? Don't kid yourself. And people in the press have no idea who this guy is, how he was formed, what the threat is, and this is a fundamental threat to the United States. It is a fundamental. They don't believe in the Constitution. They'll tell you that. Mike Johnson himself says, what is democracy but 2 wolves and a lamb having lunch? That's what they really, really, really believe. And to say, oh, come on, man, that's just some crazy shit. No. They believe that, and they're coming, and they've been doing it forever. They're funded. They're relentless. And, they probably won't win for a while, but they might. No, and if they do, the whole country blows a gasket.
You just have to look at that painting. I think it's a Kincaid painting that a lot of them like, where Jesus is handing the Constitution to Thomas Jefferson. I mean, if you could look at that and go, that's the way it probably happened.
I know it. That wasn't a photo?
That is, no.
Speaking candidly about House Speaker Mike Johnson, James Carville referred to his form of Christian nationalism as one of the worst challenges confronting the U.S. today, one that, in Carville's opinion, even outweighs organizations like Al-Qaeda. Carville contends that Johnson and his supporters are not only promoting conservative policies, but also a religious ideology that aims to reshape American governance by rejecting the Constitution in favor of biblical law and having allies on the Supreme Court. His warning was not only directed at Johnson personally, but also at a growing movement that he believes is well-funded, highly organized, and fundamentally opposed to democracy as traditionally understood. Additionally, Andre's influence within the Republican Party, whether this is a valid alarm or political hyperbole, Carville views this movement as a direct challenge to the country's democratic institutions, warning that if uncontrolled, it might result in a drastic shift in the future of the nation. Christian nationalism is unquestionably no longer a fringe concept. It is a force that is influencing the discourse at the highest echelons of authority.
The rise of anti-immigration Dutch politician Geert Wilders. I remember interviewing him for Religulous way back in 2007. A warning to the liberals in America that they need to take our immigration crisis more seriously. So if you don't follow the story, Geert Wilders, he'd been running forever in Holland. Of course, the New York Times calls him a far rightist. They call all these people, Maloney, in Italy is another one. Viktor Orban is kind of a far rightist in Hungary. But I think some of them are just, Brexit in England was part of this. People are feeling they are not welcome almost in their own home because of the kind of immigration that these people are fighting against. So
most of these people are not far right by any way that we would think of far right, in that they're racist. I actually met with Orban in Budapest, and I talked to him for a little while, and all he kept saying was, I love Hungary. That's all. I love my people. I love my country. That's it. I don't know what accent that was, but that basically.
That's a dead-on impression of him.
Something.
Can you do his walk?
Yeah, there's a little bit of a waddle. But all of these guys, Geert Wilders, he wants Holland to be for the Dutch, right? Like that's what he wants. When we see that's racist, that's what they would tell you, right? No. Wait, you meant that literally? Or
No. I don't know what we're talking about, but I was just going to say, Dutch for the Dutch. I would amend that if it was me. Dutch values.
No, Dutch values.
You don't have to be actually Dutch. You don't have to be white. That's what I think is great about America. It's the idea. As long as you subscribe to our ideas, which again, to your point, and what I was saying at the end of the show, that we're not a Christian nation. That's not what it is. This is a country where we have the First Amendment. Then everybody should be welcome.
No, of course, it's not about skin color, but it is about culture. So what happens is all of these people, whether they're in France or Belgium or any of the countries that you just mentioned, they're realizing, wow, we've got literally millions of people in our borders that are chanting for genocide and gas the Jews and the rest of it. And by the way, it doesn't stop with the Jews, right? I mean, they were at the Christmas tree in Times Square yesterday or 2 days ago. So people are realizing that, and they're looking for anybody, and for some reason they always come with crazy hair, that will fix some of this stuff. So
Not only a political change, the ascent of nationalist leaders like Geert Wilders in the Netherlands is a direct and immediate reaction to growing public indignation over immigration policies that have gotten out of hand throughout Europe, from Giorgia Meloni in Italy to Viktor Orban in Hungary. Dave Rubin argues that these leaders are champions of cultural preservation, opposing policies that have undermined national identity and allowed unchecked migration to create social instability. According to Rubin, their rise is not about racism or xenophobia, but rather about citizens demanding that their leaders prioritize the safety values and economic stability of their own people. A growing wave of leaders is taking advantage of the deep frustrations of citizens who feel their governments have failed them. However, James Carville adopts a different perspective, acknowledging the outrage but maintaining that the overwhelming sense of chaos and government incompetence, rather than immigration itself, is the true problem. He contends that voters naturally turn to those who promise to restore control when borders are left open, communities struggle with integration, and political leaders refuse to address the chaos. The backlash is not against immigrants, but rather against a perception of lawlessness, cultural dilution, and government negligence. However, the debate is still hot. Is the rise of nationalist politics a necessary correction to years of failed policies, or is it a dangerous step towards authoritarianism and division? One thing cannot be denied. The political landscape of Europe is rapidly changing, and the established order is finding it difficult to adapt.
I think your question was the election in the Netherlands, is that somewhat
A harbinger
of a warning?
for
Do you want a short, truthful answer? Or
Yes.
Yes. It does. Okay? It does. Because people, but understand this, people like immigrants, okay?
Right.
What they don't like is disorder. And when you become the disorder party, whatever it is, you pay a price. Now, one of the reasons that we're having this problem, this is what 3.6% unemployment does for you. You think we're the only people that know that? Or you think, and by the way, if you got a woman that lives in Honduras, and she walks with a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old to the Mexican border and wants to come in this country, come on in, lady. You're a motivated person. We need you. Period.
No,
Okay.
you can't come.
Yeah,
we have a
yeah,
border.
yeah.
We have a border. We have a country. You either have a country or you don't.
Every border had refugees. Every border has asylum.
Yeah, but you can't just let them walk
I'm
in.
sorry.
That's what the issue is.
I'm for somebody walks with 2 kids 600 miles to come in this country. I got a job for you, lady. Come see me. Find me one roofer in Florida that was born in the United States.
What do you think about this contentious issue? If you enjoyed this breakdown, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth looks at the major political issues influencing our world. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next. Do you think nationalist leaders like G.T. Wilders are just responding to legitimate concerns, or do you see their rise as a dangerous shift towards extremism? What about James Carville's perspective? Do you agree that the real issue is disorder rather than immigration itself? Let's continue the conversation.